oh, I'm not by myself. Okay. I was very worried. Hello. Wow,
Yes.
another one by myself. I don't like doing that all by myself all the time.
So,
Okay, so and let me explain to everybody. We have to go on time. Otherwise, Facebook cancels it. And so it's a fairly big deal. I have to jump on. I've got like 2.5 minutes, and if I'm not on by then, Facebook cancels it. So
yeah.
welcome everyone, and welcome Antoinette. I'm so glad you are here because we are talking about your participation in our book, which is coming out soon. It's already, I mean, soon it's out already. It's on pre-order, and it's already available on Amazon. And it's going to be available end of January for people to get, but people can already get it. And this book called Trauma to Triumph, which is a follow-up from the summit that we've done, and we're having conversations about from trauma to triumph. And then we are going to talk tonight to you about a piece that you wrote. How exciting is that to see your own words in a book?
Yeah,
Antoinette.
I have to say it's quite something because I tried to write a book for a long time and I didn't. So thank you for dragging me there and getting me there. I'm really grateful.
If you can write a chapter, you can write a book. That's it.
Yeah, wait, it's coming next. So thank you, Louise. Yeah.
That's my pleasure. Okay, so let's look here. So here I have, look, and that's our book. Real life stories from 12 powerful women to help you overcome your history and thrive. I'm still not sure if I should have taken out the to thrive. You've got to be so precise with your words when you go with it. And there's a cover. Looks nice.
It's beautiful.
Okay, and
Beautiful.
yeah, and then so we're going to talk about tonight about what you wrote there. And sorry, it's a bit small, so I have to really get lean in and come near to it. Next. Can you read it? You can read it.
Okay, I wrote this in my chapter. Next, my intuition guided me to throw out every single belief system I had and start from scratch. This left me completely anchorless. I felt vulnerable and terrified. I knew, however, that it was a critical next step. In hindsight, it's one of the most important steps I took to healing myself physically, mentally, and spiritually. Over the next few years, this void was filled with insights and truths, many of which flew in the face of my previous convictions. I had to toss out or adjust many of my strong beliefs.
Okay. I mean,
Sure.
there's so much in there. Where did I go to? There's just so much in there. You know, let's start with the strong beliefs because I mean, we're talking about tonight about something very specific, which is these beliefs that we have. Are they ours? Are they true? And what you mentioned there is strong beliefs. It's not even beliefs, it's strong beliefs. So it's not like we were wishy washy about what we are believing. It's like we were convinced and we lived our lives according to this is how it must be. Very convinced. And when you're like that, then it takes some doing for you to wake up and go like, oh, glory behold, I may be wrong. I may just be wrong about everything that I've believed so far. Because if once we find that first thing that we were wrong about, then it's like, what? How much more is there? Did you also have that?
Well, Louise, when that happened, I didn't know anything was wrong. I thought I had the most marvelous beliefs. Really, I was so convinced that my beliefs were spot on. So that was an intuitive guidance I got in a situation where I didn't know what to do next, because I was doing everything right in terms of my tick the box life, and I didn't know what to do. So I sat down one day and I said to God, or my higher self, so what do you want me to do to heal this? Because I knew the healing lay in my own hands, and that's the message I got. So I was worse than horrified, to be honest. I had no idea what beliefs were wrong. So it wasn't like something came. It started off, what preceded that was something that said absolutism can be a contributor to cancer. I heard that in a Dr. Bruce Lipton clip, and I read it in Anita Majani's book. And that shocked me, because at that point, I knew I had a lot of absolute belief systems. And not only was I convinced about them, but I was trying to convince everybody else, because they were right. In my world, they were right. That was it. This was the truth, and everybody must know it. I was very, so that I guess that's where it started. And when I sat down and I got this download, I was, oh my word, now what? I seriously felt at the age of 56, I felt like a person. I don't know how to explain it. It was like, I just felt like, yeah, like I said, anchorless. I'm like, now what? Because everything that defined me, I had to throw out and start again.
Yeah, I was, when the idea was first proposed to me, I'm thinking probably very gingerly and carefully that maybe something that I believed wasn't so. I was incredulous. No, of course not. It has to be like this. And this is, of course, and yes, but the world works like this. And no, but that's the right way to do it. No, but don't, no, but, no, but, no, but. And eventually, when it got through to me, I'm trying to think what it was, what shook me up. I think one of the first things that completely rocked my world was that I don't need to focus on somebody else in order to improve my life, but I needed to start focusing on me. That was like, what are you talking about, you crazy people? What are you coming with here? Of course it can't be like this. How can I be happy? I'm with this man and he drinks and he does this and he does that, like, you expect me to be happy? Are you crazy people? Why am I here even? I thought you knew what you were talking about. No, lovey, calm down. It's your time now. It's all about you. Like, what? Okay, I'm here now. I'm going to listen to you. It doesn't mean that I believe you. Like literally like that. And then I started getting it so slowly. So slowly. But once you get it, if you believed you needed somebody else to be different so you can be happy, if somebody else has to change, like when you have this rigid system, there's always somebody else around you that has to change. Isn't it so?
Well, I mean, I lived alone at that stage. I wasn't in a relationship. So the interesting thing for me is these things came up in layers over time, because, of course, so much of what I believed had to change or be adjusted, that if it had all happened at once, I wouldn't have been able to cope. So the interesting thing is, some of it was so shocking to me, Louise. It was so shocking that I was like, no, this is not possible. So what I did in those circumstances is I said to God, or the divine order, I said, you need to prove to me 3 times now that this is true, because it's I can't accept this. And blow me over, it happened every single time. 3 times it came, and in the most extraordinary, unexpected ways. So, I mean, that's the long and short of it. But the thing that happens on the other side of that, so I wasn't in a relationship, so you maybe had a different thing to adjust to. What I had to adjust to was I had surrounded myself with people with the same belief systems, and they were just as militant and absolute about them as me. And now I saw the truth, and it was radically different. Some of it, I mean, some of it still to this day, people are, I don't know what word to use, they're incensed, or they just don't say anything, or that I actually had to move away from where I lived. I had to, even now I'm fine, because I know what I believe is right. for me anyway, and I've never needed to convince anybody of these changed beliefs, but it can become a very lonely path. It's very lonely because once you know the truth, and other people, they think you've gone crazy. People told me I'd gone mad, and they're like, but that's just not true. And because, of course, a lot of my misbeliefs, as you know, were based on dysfunctional or wrong conditioning, socialization, and past trauma. So because that had led to coping mechanisms and belief systems and patterns for me that were so-called good. You see, I didn't fall into the trap that a lot of people do of heavy drugs or, I was very successful, I had a good life, I traveled, I was spiritual, so I never presented as somebody who was deeply unhappy and traumatized, actually. So when I started changing my belief, and I got very deeply into a type of spirituality that actually was very bad for me and contributed to my crisis, actually. And that's the part that's been the hardest for me. It's been a very lonely path for me now to change a belief system and no longer have a tribe. And it's not no tribe, but a lot of people weren't comfortable with what I was saying. So because I had internal trauma still from my past, I still had a deep insecurity, which I still deal with to this day, and a need to be liked and loved and fit in. And my biggest fear, ironically, that's what the divine order did. My biggest fear to this day is to be rejected and abandoned. And now I had to go out into the world and speak what I knew to be the truth, and it didn't want to be heard. So I stopped speaking it. So I stopped speaking. And then I had to be with people who, I don't know, I couldn't be with them because they were speaking something I knew wasn't right. And it wasn't just spirituality, it was so many things. It was, I mean, I don't know if that's important, but there were so many things. And some of them have come back now because I had to throw everything out. Some of them have come back. It's taken a few years. And I'm like, okay, that's actually right, but I need to just adjust my absolutism towards it.
That's it. You hit on the right thing. It's a lot of it is not about a particular action or inaction or a particular belief or not, non-belief. It's about how out of balance we are about it. So, and how much we are unwilling to be a millimeter this way or a millimeter that way. It's that rigid belief system. It's that unwillingness to be teachable, because we're incredulous that this belief system that I've been holding on for such a long time, that I have carefully crafted, that is for me the safety that I hold on to, that there could actually be something wrong with it. And I think we have to explain to people why, Antoinette. I think we have to explain to people that.
Yeah, I mean, Louise, I was going to say next, it's actually nobody's fault. I mean, I was doing my best and I was on a pretty good path. If people looked at me from the external, they'd say, shit, you got it together. It's like, what's the problem here? So the thing is, because of our conditioning and socialization and trauma, we start developing tendencies and patterns and beliefs that help to keep us safe and loved. So, I mean, this is all about subconscious programming. So we become programmed, and then also trauma creates other things. So it creates all kinds of reactions, belief systems, patterns that we go through life with. And especially when you're successful in inverted commas, like me, really in inverted commas, because externally I was, but internally I wasn't. The problem is everybody kept on validating me, you see, because I was ticking all the boxes of I don't know what to call it, of a world that's so, by the way, this is probably the most important topic right now in the world, actually.
Probably
Because
is.
people don't know what they don't know. And that's terrifying, actually, right now, because people have no idea what they don't know. And it's not their faults, because we've been conditioned, socialized, and spiritualized, traumatized. I mean, we could speak about this for 3 days. And so I'm so grateful that I had a very big wake-up call that forced me into a situation where I had to relook at everything. And some of it to this day, I cannot believe how much I had to change and how many truths I now know that other people think I'm crazy, actually.
Yeah. You know, if we go back to when you have, when you feel like I only have myself so that I can survive, because that's a feeling that a lot of people walk around with growing up. I only have myself. Now, one of the biggest needs that a child has is to feel safe. And if you don't have that support, or the people around you need more support from you than they can give you, then your safety in the world goes away and you have to find ways in which to find safety. And one of the first things, so one or two things are going to happen. So if you go to the one side, you're going to start over controlling stuff so that you can feel in control of something. You're going to go into that panty cupboard and make sure that they are color aligned, you know, like it's going to change your life in some sort of way, but it has to be like that, you know, because it feels like at least there's something I have got control over, even if it's just the color of my panties. And so it becomes a big thing. And a lot of things then become a big thing because you feel I'm controlling this. So I have some sort of order in my life. That's a prime basic human need. And the more you feel adrift in the world as a child, the more you're going to start holding on to things, definitely sure, because you need it in order to survive. Now you get to grown up and you have forgotten somewhere along the line. You don't have those skills to know I don't have to hold on to everything. The color of my panties means nothing. It's not anything that's important in my life. Now, I'm bringing up a trivial thing, but I mean, just think about how many people have absolute rules about everything. Really, absolute rules about everything. And not only do they impose it on themselves, they impose it on the people around them, their family, the people at work, the people in the supermarket have to behave in a certain way, otherwise you're going to be whacked over the head with a stick of celery. Your 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 children, your partner, your family, everybody around you. You have views about everything and everyone, and you are very willing to impose them because you grew them in a time that this was all I had. And if you don't wake up somewhere along the line, and most of us need a wake up. And it's a fortunate thing if we get a big whack and we go like, what have I been believing? Is it really the truth? If we don't get that, we keep walking around in unconsciousness. 80 to 90%, 80% of the time, easily, we are walking around guided by our subconscious. And that's a mess. And that's why we have to become willing to say, like, what on earth am I really believing? Am I believing stuff which is important? Am I believing stuff which is taking me forward? And how do we know? Because it's going to show up in our relationships. It's going to show up in our success in life. If we struggle with a lot of relationships, not just one, repeatedly, different people, we struggle to feel like we fit in. We have a really hard time voicing our beliefs, and or we are forcing them down other people's throats, and we are very offended if somebody differs from us. You know, there's always absolutes. And then we know we need to start paying attention. But it's going to be this thing of, I don't really fit in the world, because no matter how successful we are, we can still have that feeling underneath. You know what? Something is not off. It's called the big search for the truth. I need to keep on searching. I need to try harder. I need to do more. Something is off if we are doing that.
Well, it's the empty hole, I think, because when you have abandonment issues and rejection issues very young in age, then by age 7, as you know, that's the program is in place by age 7. So if there's been neglect or abandonment or criticism or whatever when you're young, then that program by 7 is already in place, and that's what's going to run your show. And the thing I want to just add to what you said is we don't know that. So you say it like people don't know that. I didn't know that. I mean, and the other thing for me, it was not about panties or how people were. Sorry, I'm not saying those are small things. For some people, they are. I had no it wasn't about, I didn't have to have order in my house. It wasn't about how people were in supermarkets. But for me, the interesting thing is, Louise, and I'm even scared to say this actually, because a lot of people won't like it. I was into, no, that's why I had all my hair shaved off, by the way, 3 weeks ago. It was another level of letting go of my fear of being completely authentic. I'm like, it's time now. I can't not talk the truth anymore. And anybody doesn't like it, they must cut my head off, put me in jail, reject me, I don't know, leave me, divorce me, whatever. So I didn't know that the following were part of my problems because they seemed so right, and they still do. That's the scary thing. So I was into spirituality big time. Yes, that's right, but I was into spiritual bypassing. And that makes everything worse because you know the knowledge, and you think like, but why is my life getting worse internally? My life's getting worse, but I'm meditating, I'm doing gratitude journals, I'm going on spiritual workshops, I've read 1,000 books. Why am I feeling worse internally? Okay. And secondly, externally, my life was not a mess. You've mentioned that people's lives are a mess, their relationships are bad. Yes, I had terrible relationships with men, but I had very good relationships with people in business and friendships. People loved me. But that's because I was a people pleaser. I was trying to be nice to everybody and they liked me. I was a vegetarian, organic food only. I wouldn't eat sugar, meat, dairy. I was incensed about when Anita Majani did a clip on how she would cure her cancer again. I'll never forget, she listed 10 things. And the 10th thing was eat cake. Do you know how angry I was? I was like, how dare you tell people to eat cake when they have cancer? We all know that sugar's bad for you. But one of the things I had to drop was this raw food, vegan, green juice, organic lifestyle. And I'm not saying it's wrong. I still eat 80% vegetarian, organic, healthy food. But I was so obsessed with it that I had no balance. I couldn't have a piece of cake without feeling guilty. A coffee was a treat, It was like if I had a piece of meat, I was a sinner. Anyway, I don't know if I've articulated that well. It's a very hard thing to articulate to people that I was doing all the right things, but I was doing them for the wrong reasons.
Antoinette, I want to just go back to what you said. It's not that everybody's lives are completely messed up. It is that we are messing up our lives because we go down this road. In the meantime, we can look perfectly beautiful outside. I had this life where people were running into the restaurant like, oh, your food is so amazing and this is so great. And then they would see the pottery and the stained glass. And it's so amazing. You've got so many talents. And who did your garden? I did my garden. Oh, thank you. I was like, I had such a lot of external validation. And there was a time when I was codependently happily married where people were saying, like, you've got the perfect marriage. And I just kept my mouth shut about the secret drinking, which nobody knew about, and the lies. Just kept it shut because it's so nice. People say you've got the perfect marriage and you never fight. Yeah, okay. But they didn't know about my secret anguish because I didn't want to show it to them. So from the outside, it looked fine, and a lot of people are living like that. Unfortunately, we get resigned. We don't know what else to do. We go and ask for psychologists. They give us talk therapy. We don't get nowhere. We get no new tools, and we get desperate and we don't know what to do. In the meantime, beautiful facade extra. That's one of our biggest stupid disbeliefs. I have to look fine. I can't be vulnerable and show up here and anybody can watch me. I'm telling you about my panties, and I'm telling you about my panty drawer that was never organized, that I could never invite anybody. So what? My hands are not going to fall off. So what? I don't care about anybody judging me when I come now and I say to you, I have been through shit and I never let anybody in. I have been through anguish. I've been felt so alone because that was one of my biggest bullshit beliefs, which we get when we are small. We have to look perfect, and it's part of it's that spiritual bypassing. I'm happy and I'm successful and everything is fine, and look at me and my perfect family and look at my Instagram feed. It's all bullshit. It is not what's important. What's important is that you show up being real. If it's with no hair on your head, fine. That's important. to show up real and let other people in and get into balance and not be absolute about anything. Be open for new views and open to explore different ways, because it's our old ways of being rigid in our beliefs, wanting everybody else to fall in with those beliefs. Otherwise, our worlds are shaken. We don't know how to be wrong. We don't even know that we can be wrong. We have got no interest in being wrong. We don't want to know another way. This is the way that we figured out. And this is what makes us safe. Once we toss all of that out, and if we don't do that, we turn our lives into bigger and bigger and bigger mess. Because even if you look happy somewhere, there's a husband, a child, somebody who is living with you, with your absolute beliefs, who are miserable and hiding somewhere, because they can't face you, because of your definite belief in your beliefs. It's just that relaxing a little bit and allowing space for somebody else, and then this amazing thing of, what? I was wrong about this all the time. What else can I be wrong about? Tell me. Because it's a whole new world that opens up when we suddenly find out, I've been holding on to beliefs that belongs to a scared little 5-year-old. Don't want to do that.
But Louise, people don't know what they don't know. Just like I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. So, and one of the things that's happening now in the world, it's fascinating. This topic is probably one of the most important topics out there, yet everyone's focusing on everything else. It's like there's this game that's being played and there's two sides, okay? The same game, but two different sides. And the division is just getting bigger and bigger. And then there's the truth. But nobody's out there really seeking the truth, because the world in general has become like, they become so obsessed with like, it's right or it's wrong. And it's like, this division's just getting bigger and bigger. And I'm afraid social media is really fueling it, because if you're a vegan, you have to like hate all meat eaters. And it's like, those bastards are ruining animals and the planet. And please, I'm not pro animal lots and animal feeds and the greed around animals, but we've become very divided in everything. And sadly, some of it looks like the good side. So I take the good side against the bad side. But actually, it's just another form. And I can say this because it was me. So I'm not judging anybody. I'm just like, that was me. I'm like, if you're not on this side, you're not right. You better get on that side. And life isn't like that. Dr. Nicole LaPera, she's the holistic psychologist. She said, your ego is there to keep you safe and loved, as you've said. She said, if you want to do ego work, one of the most important things you can do is go and watch a clip on something that you completely anti, that you completely don't believe in, and see if you can sit through it without judging, without screaming, and without switching it off. And that's not so easy for people. Everybody's so like...
Once we start listening to each other, we start hearing that there is something in my belief that you can validate, and there's something in your belief that I can validate. It doesn't mean I need to agree with you, but people don't understand that me not agreeing with you don't mean that I'm differing from you. It's a weird thing, but it's really like that. It's like me not agreeing with you doesn't mean I'm making you wrong. It just means I choose to have my belief system. But if we can take it one step further, if we can start saying, let's start asking questions about everything we believe in. Because, this is, I quote this a lot. This is from The Road Less Traveled. You don't have a single belief in your life until you have examined every single one as yours. And that was one of the biggest wake-up calls in my life, to understand that as a grown-up, I have a duty to myself, to everybody around me, to wake up and start seeing whose belief is this really. And until you have really examined every belief, not that one says this and therefore it must be true, or my father believed this and therefore I have to believe this, or anything else that you haven't said as a grown-up. Let me look at this. Let me be willing to examine it. Let me be willing to be wrong. Let me be willing to change to another position. Let me be willing to engage with people and explain to them why I have a certain viewpoint without judging and condemning. It's the judging and condemning which is the problem, not people having opposing viewpoints. That's not a problem. That encourages debate, and that brings the truth out. When people have opposing viewpoints, we get to the truth. When you start judging and condemning people, there's no truth. Then there is, then there is this divide of people who should be together.
No, I mean, it's just like in my personal journey, let me use my own life rather than the global collective. That I thought if I ate cake, I mean, these sound like such stupid things, but for me, there was such absolutism about food, and that it's like if I had a piece of cake, I was out of line, And it's like, if I look back on that, I'm like, how could I even have lived like that? It's like, yes, we need to eat our vegetables and eat as clean as possible and drink a lot of water and exercise and breathe fresh air. But for goodness sake, having a piece of cake, like Anita Majani said, it can be a meditation, it can be a joyful moment, it can be. But the thing is, when you get caught in that cycle I did, which you don't know you're in, you start doing a lot of things as coping mechanisms. So I was drinking far too much alcohol, but I was a functional alcoholic. And if I ate cake, I would eat the whole cake because I was in the cycle of not having any balance in my life. And so I had to control myself all the time to be a green vegetable juice person, because if I ate cake, I'd eat the whole cake. There was like this extreme and what I see playing out in the world now is, if only we could unite on one place, and that is, are people good or are they not? Are they coming from their heart or not? Is there love there or not? It doesn't matter what our beliefs are, actually, as long as we're meeting. And that's the same thing with cake or lettuce. It's like, yes, have your lettuce, it's important, but it's also okay to have a piece of cake. It all goes together, actually.
Yeah,
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I think I need to bring a few things in that are more important, really, than cake and panties. So cake and panties are very important because they are metaphors for all the other very big beliefs. But before we get there, I just want to get, that in the email that I sent out, and in the, what I put on the Facebook page was about the fact that there are two different kinds of people, really, when it comes to with our belief systems. And the one is like me and you, like very rigid and but at the same time, these very rigid people can have exactly the opposite too. Now, there's a lot of people who are very opposite when they don't want to make any decision, they don't want to engage, they don't want to start any kind of discussion because they don't want to be wrong. They're permanent people pleasing, avoiding of conflict mode, because they have never been taught growing up to have their own minds or have been affirmed for anything they believed in, or that's, so from both sides, we can, even when we have got a firm belief system, be constantly looking for validation and check with everybody. Do you really like this? Is this good enough? What about if I do this? And even a very outwardly confident person, or an extrovert like you, or somebody who's very high achieving, can still have this like inside insecurity that you actually need to be validated all the time. Otherwise, the whole world goes wrong for you. And then there's a whole opposite personality who is going to be, it's not a personality, I need to fix this. It's not a personality, it's a way of behaving because of the way that you've been grown up, where you are not believing in yourself, and therefore you actually don't have many beliefs that you are claiming, and you have got a lot of beliefs that are other people's beliefs. And unless other people are validating your beliefs, you're not willing to step up for that. And they all come from the same pathology. And for both
I
of them,
think they also go together, Louise. In my case, I know it's very hard to understand, but I had both, actually.
you will definitely have both. But if you're the other kind, who have never been able to, it's actually called an impinged upon adult, where your parents, one or both of your parents have taken over so much of your life. I had to make do on my own. That will explain why I managed to form my own belief system. But some people are so impinged upon. Their parents are so much all over them and directing every tiny little bit, like puppets, of their lives, and criticizing them and blaming them and judging them if they have something that falls out of their belief systems, that they dare not change from what mommy or daddy wants. And they are impinged upon adults, and they have a very hard time in grown-up time to actually even believe anything that they think. But for both of our sides, our job is to find out who we really are. We have to find, who am I really? The one who doesn't have an opinion because I lived somebody else's life for mom or for dad. I lived the life that they wanted. I did what they did, they wanted. I was too severely criticized to actually even think about anything else except their belief system. And the ones who were like, okay, fine, go off, be invisible, grow yourself up. I'm too busy having a breakdown, or your father's an alcoholic, or whatever happened in my life, you need to get yourself grown up. You don't get that implicit demand or that command, but you actually know, oh, sissy, you're on your own. You better get yourself grown up here. And the process, take care of your adults and your siblings too. So whole different process that we get to the end, where we sit with a belief system, either the rescue mentality, the desperate mentality of a 3, 4, 5-year-old who had to grow themselves up, or the impinged upon one who didn't have an opportunity to form their own belief system. And now we're sitting in adulthood, and from both sides, our job is to go like, whoa, what happened here? Is this working for me? Do I need something else? And be very, very willing to look at everything and go like, this is actually, if I keep on doing this, I'm going to have this result because I've been doing it, and what I'm getting from it is not good. Like, you can talk about your relationships that you had when you had the relationships, how every single time you go in with the same belief system, and then every time you get the same result, and every time you go like, these guys, what's wrong with them?
I had very bad relationships. That's what you want to know.
No, I don't want to know it. I say it's example. I say
no, that's what I'm willing to share. Yes, I had one with males. You mean in an intimate relationship? I had many, and one after the other, and the pattern just repeated itself until I healed myself. Yes. And now I have a different type of relationship.
That's what we're talking about. You had a belief system about it, how you should be in a relationship, how the guy must be in a relationship. I mean, it doesn't work. I mean, you go like, what's wrong with these men? And why am I, and meantime missing that it's your outlooks and your rigid belief systems that attracts a certain kind of person, who keeps a certain kind of person, and then can't live with that certain kind of person. And until you change that, you go like, how can I be wrong? I can't be wrong. I've got all these beautiful, amazing beliefs.
Yeah, but also, Louise, when you're subconscious, your biggest wound, like mine is, and I still work with it, is I'm just unlovable. Then I chose people who were emotionally unavailable and actually who were even misogynists and sociopaths, because I believed I didn't consciously believe that, but I believed I was unlovable.
Yeah, nobody does. It used to be one of my big ones too. I'm not acceptable. It's like nobody's going to want me for me. Geez, it's a hard burden to bear. And those ones, it's so hard. You can't get that. Most of us don't know this. Most of us can't get this without help. You need help to get through those ones. They're so sore to get to. Once you get them, you can change them. We're scared of getting to them, and they're really hidden from us. You do need somebody to help you with that. But there's an amazing amount of people who walk around with those feelings, unwanted, unloved.
Most people probably. And best you get it before you get a big clap. What do you say it in English? Clap is Afrikaans. Get it before you get a big trauma in your life that breaks you.
Before you walk into a wall or yeah. Okay, let's see. Let's see, we've got some people here. Hello, StreamYard user. Oh, StreamYard. No, wrong thing. Hi, Patricia. Nice to see you here. Okay, no, I don't think I've met Patricia before. Have you met Patricia? Okay, well, Patricia, you're very welcome to ask questions. I don't understand your abbreviations. I'm sorry, so I need a bit more there. Hi, Stephen. Okay, I think I've explained some of them now, haven't I? I think so, Stephen. Tell me if you still don't understand, and I'll give you some more.
Is he asking you or me? Okay, yeah, okay. The main one, can I share one, Louise?
Yeah, let me just finish reading it quickly.
Okay, finish these, yeah.
Okay. Because there are more abbreviations which I don't understand. Right? And I don't understand. Maybe we don't want to understand. I don't know. Because people don't have profile photos, so I don't know. But no, this is YouTube. These are YouTube comments. I don't know. But if people want to talk to us, they'll talk to us. Okay, go for it, Antoinette. An example of one of the truths that you believed that changed, that shook you.
Well, I think the biggest one was that I was involved in spiritual bypassing rather than in true, I don't know if true is the right word, that because being spiritual and was a very, very important part of my life, and I worked very hard at it. Workshops, courses, books, daily practice, gratitude journals, yoga. And it was such a shock to me to find out that actually I was engaging in spiritual bypassing. It was a word I never even had heard in my life. And spiritual bypassing is to use spirituality to bypass the work required to go through the developmental phases. So, for example, if you've had actually not even trauma, the conditioning and socialization in our childhood sets us up by the age of 7 to be programmed to live in a certain way, and often that is not healthy. And so many of us, and many people still do, grasp at spirituality, which is a good grasping, by the way. It's much better than cocaine or to fill that unmet need in us. All I knew was, for all my success and my fitness and my traveling, I just never felt okay. I felt this grinding fear and grinding anxiety. Even when I was in paradise on holiday, I just never felt fulfilled. I was never enough. It was never enough. And I had everything, actually.
Can I explain it in a tiny little different way, Antoinette? It's the quest to feel zen and peaceful and in control of your life.
Yes, that's it.
That's
Oh, so yeah, so because you bypass, so yes, I was absolutely obsessed with being peaceful, zen, happy, joyful. Yes, that's actually probably the biggest shock on my journey, that I found out that actually that is the very thing that keeps you trapped in being miserable. And what actually happens, because you intellectually so desperate with all this knowledge you have to be zen and peaceful and joyful, and then you are the opposite, it starts really freaking you out, and it creates cognitive dissonance. So it actually makes you worse, because you're like, but I've been done all these courses and read all these books, and I'm doing all these journals and all the stuff I've been told to do, and it's nothing. I don't feel any happier. And then it makes you worse on a subconscious level, because there's like this internal conflict and you don't know what's going on. So until you realize that actually you cannot be truly peaceful, joyful, creative, any of that, until you've done the work of rewiring your brain or reprogramming your program. And Louise, what would you call that? Inner child work, it's shadow work, it's
I will just simplify it, Antoinette. It's
okay, thank you.
you chase for a whole lot of stuff outside of yourself, which is called spiritual bypassing, because you keep on using spiritual ideas to bypass what is really, really important. And what's really important It's very short and sweet. You're supposed to freaking well love yourself. Love yourself. When you love yourself and you relax into yourself, and you start to
Yeah,
accept
but
who you
Louise,
really are.
but you can't love yourself until you do the work you took me through. I mean, I
Yeah,
came
but
to you for.
I promise you, Antoinette, I got this idea way before I did everything I was supposed to. I didn't go on a quest of I have to be perfect before I can love myself because now I'm going to forget the name of the author, but in Perfect Daughters, one thing caught my attention. When you decide to love yourself, that is when you've done the work. You can decide to love yourself way before you've unraveled every little dark piece in yourself. And I promise you, I didn't unravel every dark piece in myself. I was quite happy to go like, you've got some unfinished business inside. Okay, Louise, love yourself despite. So part of the work that you do is to get to the point, which is the most important one, that you have to get to the point where you love yourself. Yes, you may need help with it. Maybe you don't know how to do it. But your most important job here is to love yourself. Now, if I'm not giving you all a eye-awakening truth this moment, drop your other beliefs. Take this one. Your job on this world is to love yourself. The moment you start loving yourself, you have so much more to give to other people. You drop your judgments. You're not so full of bullshit. You relax. You invite people into your life. You become easy. And
And
that,
Louise, that's spiritual bypassing has caused a problem for people with that because I felt I couldn't love myself because I wasn't peaceful enough. I wasn't happy enough. I wasn't zen enough. And actually, it's taken me 4.5 years, but you obviously got there quick, or other people get there quick. And now I love myself anyway. I'm not freaking perfect. I still sometimes drink too much. I still don't like myself sometimes. I still feel shame, blah, blah, blah. In fact, I feel more of those feelings now because I'm allowing myself to be authentic and real. And that's when you suppress, that's the other thing. I got really ill because I had been suppressing emotions my whole life. So that's the other big thing, belief system. I didn't know that being zen and happy and trying to do that all the time could make you sick because actually then you're not showing up to feel
yeah,
shame or anger or all the things that are appropriate because we're human beings.
yeah, we are. Do you know, Antoinette, I mean, I know that even a year ago, we were having this conversation live on air. And I know live on air how many times I said, you don't have to be perfect to love yourself. You don't have to be. And I know that over this last year, how much of a change there is to come to this point where you can say, I can love myself. And I think it's worth mentioning because a lot of people have this exact problem. I cannot love
Yeah.
myself until. Now, that's not our goal. There's no such thing. Love yourself, full stop, full stop. That's what
So
we are
thank
supposed to
that. And when you start loving yourself anyway, then everything starts changing.
do. Everything starts changing. Everything starts changing. It's your most important job. All right, let's see who's here. Okay. So, big love back to you, Tracy. Nice to see you here. Okay, and here's Mitch too. Mitch, you made it live today. Well done. Nice to see you live. We haven't seen you live for a while. Okay, there we go. And all right. All right, thanks, Stephen. I'm glad you let us know. So, any more questions? We're going to be going for an hour today. You know, we never planned to. Okay, everybody, while you are here, you know what to do. Go give us a few more hearts. We need some more hearts, eh? And remember to go share to people because you know people don't love themselves enough. We need to tell people, and people are way too attached to their childhood beliefs. So we really want people to become aware that we don't have to keep on believing the same thing, and we don't all have to run into a wall. I don't think we want people to run into a wall before we start examining beliefs. I think we can start small. So let's give everybody an exercise. How about we do that? What's not working in your life right now? This is the question I have. What is not working in your life? It hasn't been working for a while. and you don't know how to change it. You don't even know where to start. And you just keep on doing the same thing. And it could be in any kind of area of your life, because all of us become a little bit unconscious sometimes, and all of us become a little bit blind to something, and all of us sooner or later become a little bit stuck in a situation. But most of us have something, like who lives the perfect life? So it means it's just like it's a good question to ask anybody. Like, what is there in your life that you've become used to? Okay. All right. So just a disclaimer here. If you've been having a lot of counseling lately, you may not have it. I just want to make sure not everybody in the audience thinks that they're going to find something wrong. Okay. It's also, if you've been having a lot of counseling, you're going to be awake about a whole lot of stuff, and you're not going to be sitting in la la land anymore in your subconscious running you, because that's what counseling do. So don't everybody think that you have this in your life. But for the ones who've not been having a lot of counseling, think about what in your life are you used to, just because it is, or because you believe you don't know what to do about it. Because at the same time, the one who's on counseling by this time know that there's no such thing as I can't do anything about this. Of course I can do something about it. I just need maybe some help, a little bit of a blind spot mirror. Look at my belief system. Because it's every single time the belief system, it's going to trick us up. It's going to start with a belief system. It's not the other person, or this has to change or that. It's every single time going to be my belief system that I have to look at. Right. So we go back to your chapter. Your biggest blessing was finding out that you ran into a wall because of your belief system.
Oh, yeah. Toxic thought patterns, limiting beliefs, distorted worldviews, spiritual bypassing. I mean, it's like lack of self-love. There was, if I hadn't run into this wall, it was a gift. What a gift. So,
Let me also just say absolutism, which is definitely there, but also let's call it something else, black and white thinking, just for people who don't know what to talk about. Black and white thinking. It's like my way or the highway. This, no gray areas.
I still have to work on that, by the way. It doesn't just disappear. It's like,
No, I'm going to be honest here. I like my opinion. Hey?
and I know I'm right. So.
Yeah, but listen, let me also tell you that there's where the balance comes in. Now I like my opinion, but I'm willing to be wrong, which is very different.
Yeah.
And you are supposed to, when you love yourself and you've become very conscious in your life, you're supposed to like your opinion. You're not supposed to not like your opinion. You're supposed to like your opinion. But if you're willing to be wrong, you're willing to investigate stuff, you're on the right track. Okay, let's see if we've got any more comments, because I think we need to finish off soon. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm not going to be responding. Look here. Nice to see you.
Norma. Yay. No.
I'm not responding to people who are putting abbreviations in there, because, guys, you have language if you want to talk to us. You've got a voice, you've got a place, you can have to use.
I think they're robots, Louise.
Yeah, they're probably robots. So we're not talking robots. We're talking to real people here. This is the real people show, people.
So I want to just end by saying, please, everybody, start asking yourself, what is it that you don't know? Because people don't know what they don't know. And that's, just wake up every now and again and say, what is it that I think I know? Or what don't I know that I don't know? Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about the questions you are willing to ask of yourself, or the questions you are willing to ask of whatever goes on in life. It's questions. It's not getting stuck. And look, if you start judging people, you're not in the right direction. If you're judging people, you are coming from a fear perspective. You're not open to what's going on in the rest of the world. Okay, there's a pretty book again. There's a pretty book. If you're on my mailing list, you'll be knowing about it now. And I'll keep on reminding about you, and I'll remind you in a big way when it's up for release time. So don't worry about that. You will know, I guarantee you. And we're going to have a lot more interesting conversations. I think that probably next week. Who am I talking to? Toby? Toby, guys? I think we may be talking to Toby. Maybe a surprise for me too. But you'll get an email in time and I'll tell you who we are talking to. Antoinette, like always, we struggle to finish in under an hour. Never mind 55 minutes.
Thank you, Louise.
Yeah.
I do love talking, but I've accepted that about myself now.
It's part of it. Love it about yourself. Not only accept. Talking is good. You've got a voice. You've got a choice. Use it. That's our adult rights.
Thank you, Louise. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to tell our stories. And I think stories are so powerful because everybody's struggling right now in one way or another. And it doesn't have to mean a disastrous ending. It can really, this is a spiritual bypassing thing, but it's also truth. Like, to get broken open is where the light comes in. And that's such a, like, bleh, when you just say it, but it is actually the truth.
No, it's absolute truth. I'm in plain English tell you, I was so lucky to have my heart hit so that I could start taking in another opinion, which wasn't my own. And it's a blessing. No matter which way it happens, no matter if it's painful and traumatic, the blessings that you get from afterwards is so amazing that you're willing to embrace it. And it's not a hardship, and it's not difficult, and there is support. So yes, okay. So we'll continue our conversations. And thank you so much, Antoinette. I love talking to you all the time. Thank you for being so honest and truthful about your journey. And looking forward. Thank you all for coming. If you come in afterwards, please do your comments. We'll come in. We'll comment. We'll answer your questions. And if you have not signed up to my mailing list, please send me a private, no, not you, robot, real people, thank you. Send me a message. I'll put you on my mailing list. And lots of love to everyone.
Thank you, Louise. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, wrong one.
Oh, we're still here.
Wrong one. Yes, that's the wrong one. Okay, I did it last week also. I played the wrong one.
Lucky I didn't fart. I swear.
Now it's not the moment, Antoinette. Keep your pose. Bye, everyone. Bye.